Yo, what's up, guys? We're back. It's another breakdown and predictions video this week. This week, it's going to be for UFC Vegas 70. Nikita Krylov taking on Ryan Spann in the main event. And we're coming off a really good week. Once again, last week, UFC Vegas 69, we won again on the Patreon. And I'm trying to tell you guys, man, we've been killing it on there. Every week, we've been making some money. So definitely go over there. Patreon.com/MyPredictionGuru. Support the channel. Start making yourself some money, having fun watching these fights. So for sure, check that out. But yeah, and another thing is you guys killed it last week with the likes, man. That was freaking awesome. You crushed it. We got way over 100 likes. So now that I know you guys can do it, let's hit that like button again, man. Let's try to get to 150 likes. That'd be awesome. We got a lot more views. We got more engagement on the last video due to you guys liking it. So let's try to get that again. Let's try to get up to 150 likes. We got pretty close to that last week, so I think we can get there. So 150 likes. Hit that like button right now. But let's get into this card with this first fight of the night. We got Jose Johnson. He's taking on Garrett Armfield. And I see Jose Johnson is a pretty... a lot of people are picking him. He's a guy that a lot of people are picking as an underdog of the week. And it should be an all-action fight. I mean, Johnson, I think, is one of the biggest, if not the biggest 135er in the UFC. And that's one of the main reasons why a lot of people are on him. 6 foot, 71-inch reach. And he has 58 MMA fights under his belt. He's extremely experienced. 15-7 as a pro, a ton of amateur bouts. And Garrett Armfield, this is going to be his second UFC fight. He fought David Onama on short notice. Jose Johnson, this is going to be his debut after winning on the Contender Series. Armfield, he fought David Onama at 145, which was a really tough fight to go in there and do. Now he's back at 35s, and it's a much easier fight to win here. He's coming out of a really good gym, Kill Cliff FC, and he's more of the average height for 135. He's 5'6", so he's going to have to figure out how to navigate that major height disadvantage. Reach-wise, his reach is 70 inches, so he only has a 4-inch reach disadvantage. His arms are fairly long. And his last fight, he faced a really tall fighter, so it's going to be a similar look again here. As far as how these two fighters match up, I think Armfield, his game plan is going to be pretty obvious. He's going to want to wrestle heavy, try to overwhelm Johnson with volume, stay in his face. Jose Johnson is a fighter who, on the feet, likes to analyze, take time to set things up. More of a sniper, isn't super high volume. And he can get away with that because he just stays active enough with the kicks, crosses on the outside. When fighters get aggressive, he can meet them with knees, elbows, more concussive shots. And if you give Jose Johnson space in the clinch, he's deadly there with knees and elbows. Has some really, really nasty KOs in those areas. For 135er, he has big power. Johnson, his chin is good as well. He's composed. And even though sometimes he can get backed up and hit a little bit, he keeps a good high guard and he can block and roll with most of the shots that he takes. Garrett Armfield, he is more of a boxer, but he's fast hands, solid combos. He does a good job pressuring uppercuts, body shots to open up the headshots, going body head. And he does a good job of using the body shots to set up his wrestling, set up his takedown shots. And he needs to impose the wrestling early. If he could back Johnson up, use his hands to set up the level change or clinch, he can kind of start to make Johnson start to think and make the striking a little bit easier as it goes down the stretch. And Armfield's strong in the clinch. He does a good job getting the double unders. He, on top, is more of a guy that just controls. And for Jose Johnson, he has bad wrestling. But sometimes he can surprise you with a body lock. But his defensive wrestling, pretty non-existent. He stands tall. He's flat-footed. So it makes it pretty easy to get in on his hips. But he's really developed a good elbow game off his back, good submission game. He could scramble. He's hard to take down. If he can get on top, he's pretty solid. He'll rain down heavy elbows. His cardio is really good as well. So some fighters, if they can't hold him down, they will tend to get tired. And Johnson ends up finishing them or getting a dominant position on the ground from a bad takedown and taking over. And I think he has the juice, more upside to finish in this fight. Armfield, I think, would be smarter to try to take away that space a lot of the time, get the takedown, stuff Johnson against the cage, and try to control his way to victory. It's hard to deal with Johnson on the ground, but if Armfield could push him, like I said, push him against the cage, makes control time, I think that's probably the best area he could be in. And I think his boxing combinations are going to be fairly effective too. It's a big fight for Armfield because he's already 0-1 in the UFC, and he's going to be coming down to his original weight class, so I think he kind of needs a win here. And I'm going to go with Armfield getting it done here. I think that Johnson's a tough character to deal with because of his height, but his wrestling defense is weak, and I think Armfield is the superior boxing. Johnson sometimes can be too nonchalant in there and just lacks some of that urgency that I like to see at times. Even though he can get those highlight reel finishes, I don't know if he can win minutes. And Armfield is hittable, but unless he just gets knocked out with a one shot, I think he kind of starts to run away with it with the activity and just being able to mix it up down the stretch. So I'm going to go with Garrett Armfield by decision in this one. I think he's going to come into this one in good shape. I think he's going to be ready to go. And I think he's going to kind of just be a little bit too well-rounded, a little bit too active for